What if the entire history of a great dynasty was a lie, built upon the blood of two murdered children? And what if one of those children survived, returned from the dead to claim his rightful place on the throne, to exact revenge? This thought was King Henry VII's greatest nightmare. And one day that nightmare became reality. A young man with the face of an angel and the bearing of a prince appeared on Europe's doorstep. He introduced himself as Richard, Duke of York, the younger of the two princes who had vanished without a trace in the Tower of London. He recounted a tale of miraculous escape, and people believed him. Kings, dukes, and emperors were prepared to offer him gold and soldiers, eager to crush the English tyrant. But who was he, truly? The lost heir to the throne, or a brilliant impostor who played the most audacious game in history? His story didn't begin in royal chambers, but in the grimy docks of the Flemish city of Tournai. There, amidst the smell of fish and cheap ale, grew a boy named Pierre Quin Osbeck, or, as he was also known, Perkin Warbeck. The son of a port official, from childhood he watched wealthy merchants in silks and velvets toss coins into the dirt, and a simple yet potent feeling of injustice festered within him. He saw that birthright dictated everything, and it frustrated him deeply. But he possessed a gift more valuable than any title. He could observe, imitate, and compel people to believe. He was a natural actor on the stage of life. And one day, gazing at his reflection in the murky canal water, he made a decision that would alter the course of European history. If the world was a stage, he would choose his own starring role. And he chose the perfect time for his play, the late 15th century. The English throne, seized by Henry Tudor, rested on the blood and ashes of a recent war. The dynasty was new, weak, and its enemies were everywhere. Across the Channel, in France, Burgundy, and Scotland, kings and dukes sharpened their knives. They didn't need a true York heir, they needed a ghost, a living banner to throw in the usurper's face and ignite a new civil war. It was a world without passports or photographs, a world of rumors and legends. Here, a person was measured not by who they were, but by who they appeared to be. And for a young man determined to become a prince, this era was more than just a stage. It was a gift of destiny. His first move was Ireland, a land where the Yorks were still remembered and loved. He landed in Cork, dressed in silks, and the city erupted in whispers. He didn't declare his identity. He simply carried himself with dignity, allowing people to see the lost prince in him, and they did. Next stop, Paris. King Charles VIII of France, Henry's enemy, welcomed him as one of his own. Palaces, a guard of 100 men, promises of gold and armies. The game had escalated. But the true coronation of his legend occurred in Burgundy. There he was met by Margaret of York, the true prince's aunt. She subjected him to a public interrogation, then declared, "This is he, my nephew Richard, miraculously saved from his murderers," when the boy from the docks of Tournai had officially become the White Rose of York. But how did he manage it? No magic involved. Only cold calculation and a brilliant understanding of human nature. He grasped the fundamental law of power. People believe not in truth, but in the story that serves their interests. To the French king, he offered a sword to strike at England. To disenfranchised Yorkists, he offered hope for revenge. To everyone, he held up a mirror in which they saw their secret desires fulfilled. His retinue was a carefully chosen mix of deluded idealists and cynical opportunists, who were the first to cry, "Long live the king!" Their ostentatious belief infected the crowd. He didn't prove he was a prince. He simply acted like one, and that was enough. He didn't merely lie. He crafted a new reality around himself, where his fiction was more compelling than facts. But behind every great lie stand great puppet masters. The main architect of his legend was Margaret of York. She despised Henry Tudor and saw in this boy the perfect weapon. She provided him not only money and recognition, but also an entire court of exiled Yorkists, ready to die for their prince. Behind her stood an even greater figure, Emperor Maximilian of the Holy Roman Empire. He sought chaos in England, and Warbeck was the ideal instrument. But the enemy was not idle. Henry VII waged his own war against this phantom, a war of spies. His agents flooded the continent. They didn't argue, they gathered facts. His father's name, his address in Tournai, neighbors' testimonies. While the pretender basked in glory, the true king, in the quiet of his study, prepared a trap from which there was no escape, and the trap snapped shut. In the summer of 1495, Warbeck made a fatal mistake. He believed his own legend. He decided the time for words was over. His ships approached the shores of Kent, but instead of a cheering crowd, he was met with swords and arrows. The landing became a slaughter. Why? Because Henry had the invasion plans on his desk weeks before the attack. His most trusted man, Sir Robert Clifford, had betrayed him. The king had simply bought him. The blow was devastating. The network of conspirators in England was decapitated. European patrons turned away. Funds dried up. From a living weapon, he became a fugitive. A final desperate attempt, a landing in Cornwall, ended in failure. He was cornered like an animal. And yesterday's king, the York heir, surrendered without a fight, begging only for his life. The performance was over. But Henry was not in a hurry to execute him. He needed not a corpse, but the pretender's most valuable asset, his ledger of betrayals. And Warbeck talked. He implicated everyone. Lords, merchants, priests. Arrests swept across England. The Tudor treasury swelled by thousands of pounds from fines levied on the surviving conspirators. But money was just a bonus. On the foundation of this affair, Henry built a new system of power. He enacted laws that transformed mere discontent into high treason. He established a network of spies that enveloped the entire country. Warbeck's deception didn't just fail, it provided the paranoid king with the perfect instrument to construct a police state. In 1499 he was hanged. First, he was forced to read his confession twice to the crowd, then the noose. But here's the paradox. Henry's police state ultimately crumbled. His spies and laws have long since vanished. Yet the story of the boy from the docks lives on, posing a question that remains unanswered. To fool all of Europe for 7 years, it wasn't enough just to lie. He had to become that lie. He must have woken up each morning feeling royal blood in his veins, to look at monarchs as his equals, because in his own mind he was a king. And therein lies his greatest secret. Perkin Warbeck proved that the greatest deception isn't one you make others believe, but one you utterly believe yourself.